Hello, English learners. Welcome back to another great lesson here with English Pod. My name is Marco.
And I'm Erica.
And today we're bringing you an upper intermediate lesson.
A special lesson about the new president.
Right. It's been a hot topic in the U.S. The new president-elect, President Obama.
Yes.
So today we're bringing you something that you might see at his inaugural address.
That's true. So, Marco, can you explain this word inaugural address?
The inaugural address is the first speech the president gives at the ceremony when he is officially president.
Okay. All right. So
Right.
It's his first presidential speech.
Exactly. Great. So let's take a look at some other words that we're going to find in the dialogue today in Vocabulary Preview.
Vocabulary Preview.
All right. On Vocabulary Preview today, we have two words. The first one is swear in.
Swear in.
Swear in.
Swear in. We'll see this word in its past tense in the dialogue, right? Sworn in.
Sworn in.
So it means...
So to swear someone in is to officially give that person a very important position, usually in government.
Yeah.
And our second word is oath.
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 O-A-T-H. Oath.
An oath goes hand in hand with swear in, right?
That's right. When you swear someone in, they make an oath. A promise, right?
A promise.
An official promise to carry out the duties of that job.
Right, so they promise that they will do their job. Okay, great. So now let's listen to our dialogue for a first time. Where are we?
Well, we're actually watching a news reporter on TV. She's in Washington and she's going to tell us all about what's happening.
Great, so let's listen.
Madeline Wright for BCC News reporting live from Washington, D.C., where very shortly the new president will deliver his inaugural address. Just moments ago, the president was sworn into office. Following the United States Constitution, the president swore an oath to faithfully execute the office of the presidency.
And what exactly is going on now, Madeline?
Well, Tom, true to American tradition, the band has just played Hail to the Chief, and the president has been honored with a 21-gun salute. Now we're waiting for the president to take the stage and deliver his speech. Tom, it's like the who's who of the political world here on Capitol Hill, with dignitaries representing several different countries.
What's the mood on the ground like, Madeline?
In a word, the mood here is electric. The excitement in the air is palpable. I've never seen a larger crowd here on Capitol Hill. The audience is shouting, crying, and embracing each other. On this, a most historic day, you can feel the hope and the excitement in the air. The 20th of January will go down in history as the... Oh, Tom, it looks like the president is about to begin.
My fellow Americans, I stand before you today
Okay, some technical problems at the inaugural address.
Yeah, I certainly hope this doesn't happen.
Well, if it does, you heard it first at English Pod.
Predictors of the future here.
Okay, let's take a look at language takeaway.
Language takeaway.
On language takeaway today, we're bringing you four words.
The first word is deliver.
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 Like deliver a pizza.
No. Let's listen. We've got 3 examples that will show the meaning of this word.
Example 1.
Who's going to deliver the welcome speech?
Example 2. I've been asked to deliver a presentation on the findings of our research project. Example 3.
Dr. Rosen is delivering a lecture on macroeconomics.
Okay, so deliver a speech.
Say a speech.
To say a speech.
Yeah,
So you wouldn't say a speech, you would say deliver a speech.
exactly.
Okay, our second word for language takeaway, the who's who.
The who's who.
The who's who.
So this is a funny expression, hey?
It's kind of weird.
The who's who is the important people in a particular field, right?
Right. So, for example, there was a party last night and the who's who of the film industry was there.
Whoa, so all the important stars
And directors
yeah,
and all that stuff.
Okay. You could also say the funeral was like a who's who of the political world.
Okay, so all the important political figures were at this funeral.
Exactly. Let's move to our third word.
Dignitaries.
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 Okay, we have some great examples so you can understand what this word means. So let's listen.
Example 1. Several important dignitaries were present at the opening ceremony, including the President of Brazil, the King of Spain, and the Pope. Example 2.
There are going to be a lot of foreign dignitaries at the dinner.
So basically, we can understand that dignitaries are really important people, right?
Right. Important political or religious figures.
I see.
All right. Now our last word for language takeaway, palpable.
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 Palpable. When something is palpable, it's so strong you can feel it.
Okay, so it's a very strong feeling. You can almost touch it.
Yeah, like the excitement was palpable or the fear was palpable.
Okay, interesting word, palpable. Let's listen to our dialogue again, and now let's try and listen to all these words we just talked about.
This is Madeline Wright for BCC News, reporting live from Washington, D.C., where very shortly the new president will deliver his inaugural address. Just moments ago, the president was sworn into office. Following the United States Constitution, the president swore an oath to faithfully execute the office of the presidency.
And what exactly is going on now, Madeline?
Well, Tom, true to American tradition, the band has just played Hail to the Chief, and the president has been honored with a 21-gun salute. Now we're waiting for the president to take the stage and deliver his speech. Tom, it's like the who's who of the political world here on Capitol Hill, with dignitaries representing several different countries.
What's the mood on the ground like, Madeline?
In a word, the mood here is electric. The excitement in the air is palpable. I've never seen a larger crowd here on Capitol Hill. The audience is shouting, crying, and embracing each other. On this, a most historic day, you can feel the hope and the excitement in the air. The 20th of January will go down in history as the... Oh, Tom, it looks like the president is about to begin.
My fellow Americans, I stand before you today.
Okay, so if you noticed in our dialogue, we have some really interesting phrases there.
Yes.
So I think it's time for us to take a look at Fluency Builder.
Fluency Builder.
On Fluency Builder today, we're going to be looking at 3 phrases that are very interesting because we can change them a little bit and form different patterns.
Yeah, so the first phrase we have is in a word.
In a word.
In a word.
In a word.
We use this expression when we want to describe something in one word.
Right.
Pretty simple, hey?
It's really simple.
Let's look at the pattern. We've got examples of how you could use this phrase.
Example 1. In a word, the situation is serious. Example 2.
What's it like there?
In a word, it's amazing.
Okay, so in a word, this podcast is
Awesome.
amazing.
Uh-huh.
Okay. Okay, let's look at our second phrase today. Go down in history.
Go down in history.
Go down in history.
So this is a really common phrase. I'm sure you guys have heard it.
Yeah, basically something that is really important that everyone will remember for a very long time.
Let's look at this pattern with a few examples.
Example 1.
This is going to go down in history as the worst disaster the world has ever seen.
Example 2. He'll go down in history as the best president we've ever had. Example 3.
This day will go down in history. Okay, so as you can see, the pattern is we're using a superlative.
That's right. The most, the best,
The biggest.
The worst.
The worst, right?
And our final phrase in putting it together is
My fellow Americans.
my fellow Americans.
My fellow Americans.
So obviously you can change this one up a little bit, hey?
Right. You can say my fellow co-workers,
My fellow citizens.
my fellow family members.
Yes.
So basically fellow just means like dear
Yeah.
in some way.
Similar.
Similar.
Yeah.
So we looked at some great vocabulary and phrases, and now let's talk a little bit about these American traditions when electing a new president.
Yes.
Today in the studio we have JP who's joining us,
Hi, everyone.
Hey, JP.
and he's going to be talking to us about these traditions.
Oh, I am. Okay.
Yeah.
What are we going to talk about?
21 gun salute, what's that all about?
The 21 gun salute is the military salute where they say, and now we will have the 21 gun salute. So 21 soldiers with their rifles, they go, hur, 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 poof, and they all shoot them off at the same time. And I don't know why.
I think it's a sign of respect, hey?
Yeah.
Weird respect though.
Well,
shooting
I think
guns.
in Europe they would do a cannon or something.
Oh.
Right.
One cannon
right.
salute?
No, well, just cannons. Maybe just one cannon.
Maybe our European listeners know the answer to
Maybe.
this.
Okay, and what about this song Hail to the Chief? Do you know anything about that?
I do not know anything about it, except that it's a march, and I think it's Sousa. I think John Philip Sousa wrote it. And whenever the president walks into a room, they play that song.
Really?
Yes, and I played it once for President Bush, the first one. I was a drummer.
You
and,
did?
And my marching band had to play that song for him.
Oh my God,
Wow.
JP, you're like famous.
Yeah, this was back in like 1986 or something. Was that even an election year? 88? I don't know.
Well, you did play for the president, so you
That's
know.
pretty cool.
Yeah.
So, JP, do you have any other sort of traditional things that happen when the president becomes the president?
Well, I can tell you that Jimmy Carter, you know, when he was elected president, his motorcade was going down Pennsylvania Avenue, and he stopped the car and got out.
Really?
Do what?
Yeah, to walk. He wanted to walk down Pennsylvania Avenue. He wanted to walk down the, down the street.
To be with the people.
Yeah, I think so, and I think it made the Secret Service insane.
Maybe the car smelled bad or something.
Maybe so. I think that is my memory of it. I might be confusing with The West Wing, but I'm not sure.
Too much TV.
Yeah, maybe. But when the president walks, it's a big deal.
So, JP, do you do anything special for the inauguration ceremony?
I always take the day off to watch.
You do?
I love watching it. I love, I love the swearing in ceremony, the ritual of it, the speech.
All right, everyone, we're out of time. I hope you enjoyed this political lesson.
And I hope you have a happy inauguration day.
Happy inauguration day, everyone.
Yeah.
Okay.
The presidential inaugural address is the new president's first public speech at the inauguration ceremony and holds great political symbolism. This speech not only marks the president's official assumption of office, but also represents the president's statement of future political direction and commitment to the people. As one of the most important traditions in American political life, the inaugural address carries significant historical and cultural meaning, providing a moment to showcase American democracy, unity, and leadership. 1. The origins of the presidential inaugural address. The tradition of the inaugural address can be traced back to George Washington, the first president of the United States. When Washington took office on April 30th, 1789, he swore the oath of office in the Federal Hall in New York City and delivered the first inaugural address. This speech was brief yet meaningful, with Washington addressing the nation's independence, the formation of the Constitution, and the establishment of the federal government, which laid the foundation for the political direction of the United States. Since then, each new president has delivered an inaugural address, and while the content and style have varied, the tradition has continued, becoming a hallmark of each presidency. As the U.S. democracy evolved, the content of the inaugural addresses also changed. From initial simple pledges of loyalty and justice to the nation, the speeches gradually developed into political declarations, strategic plans, and national goals, making them an important tool for presidents to convey their policy positions, demonstrate leadership, and enhance national cohesion. 2. The historical evolution of the presidential inaugural address. Early inaugural addresses were relatively short, primarily focusing on oaths and loyalty to the Constitution. However, as the U.S. grew into a global power, the content of these speeches became more complex and far-reaching. For instance, Abraham Lincoln's second inaugural address was not just a formal pledge to the presidency, but also showcased his leadership style during the American Civil War, calling for national unity to overcome the divisions of the country. Lincoln's speech is particularly famous for calling to bind up the nation's wounds and laying the foundation for peace in the nation's future. Additionally, Franklin D. Roosevelt's inaugural address during the Great Depression also holds historic significance. His famous quote, "The only thing we have to fear is fear itself," became one of the most symbolic statements in American history, signaling the U.S. resolve to confront both internal and external challenges. His speech not only provided national confidence, but also outlined the path toward economic recovery and future policy directions. In more recent years, presidential inaugural addresses typically provide a brief outline of the president's future policies while emphasizing unity, hope, and the nation's vision. For example, in Barack Obama's 2009 inaugural address, the theme of change was emphasized, promising to reform the economy, promote social justice, and strengthen the United States' global leadership. Obama's speech style was powerful and infectious, giving the American people new hope and confidence. 1. 3. The cultural significance of the presidential inaugural address. The presidential inaugural address is not only part of a political ceremony, but also an important symbol of American democratic spirit and cultural identity. In the U.S., the public often expects the new president to demonstrate leadership, values, and policy direction through their speech. Each president's address is a stage for showcasing personal style and political stance. For the people, the president's speech is a response to their hopes and dreams, and the words often become a reflection of the national spirit. For instance, John F. Kennedy's inaugural speech included the famous line, "Ask not what your country can do for you. Ask what you can do for your country," which reflected the American spirit of selflessness and encouraged the public to actively participate in nation building. This motivational language had a profound impact on American society, becoming part of the national ethos. The inaugural address also holds significant symbolic value, often conveying ideas of national unity, democratic processes, and social change. The speech not only reflects the new president's political commitments, but also serves as a moment to showcase the core American values to the nation and the world. Given the country's diverse social fabric and strong individualistic culture, each president must balance different interests and voices in their speech, seeking a blend of social recognition and national unity. The presidential inaugural address is a vital component of American democracy and political tradition. From Washington's first address to the modern speeches today, it has become an inseparable symbolic moment in U.S. political life. Each address carries the hopes and challenges of its time, reflecting the president's responsibilities and vision in the minds of the people. Through the address, the president not only communicates policy goals and vision, but also showcases the American society's aspirations for unity, democracy, and social progress. Throughout history, these speeches have evolved with the times, but together they form the core of American political culture, serving as the starting point for every president's future political journey. The presidential inaugural address is not only an expression of the new president's political commitments, but also an art, involving complex language skills and profound political declarations. Through this platform, the president conveys their policy vision to the public while demonstrating leadership, influence, and outlook for the country's future. Whether through inspiring words, clear policy planning, or emotional resonance and rational thought, the language of the presidential speech carries great significance. 2. 1. The language style of presidential inaugural addresses. The language style of presidential inaugural addresses is varied, but several common characteristics run through them. First, speeches often employ rhetorical techniques aimed at stirring emotions and resonating with the public. Classic speeches frequently use metaphors, parallelism, repetition, and contrast to make the language more vivid and impactful. For instance, Abraham Lincoln's Gettysburg Address used the succinct phrase, "government of the people, by the people, for the people," to directly convey the core idea of democracy. This concise and powerful language style made his speech one of the most influential political speeches in history. Secondly, presidential speeches often carry emotional appeal. Presidents connect with the emotions of the people, motivating them to work toward common goals. In Barack Obama's 2009 inaugural address, he said, "We will no longer allow laziness to be an obstacle to our nation's progress, shaping an image of a hopeful and action-driven nation." Obama skillfully used this language style, allowing the audience not only to understand the political declaration but also to feel a strong emotional drive. Additionally, presidential speeches typically reflect strong leadership and authority. As the leader of the nation, the president's words exhibit confidence and decisiveness, ensuring that the public trusts their governance abilities and vision. For example, in Franklin D. Roosevelt's 1933 inaugural address, his famous line, "The only thing we have to fear is fear itself," encouraged Americans who were suffering from the Great Depression, showing a leader's unwavering confidence in times of crisis. 2. Policy declarations in inaugural addresses. The presidential inaugural address is not just a summary of the past, but also a look toward the future. In their speech, presidents often explicitly state their policy directions and lay the groundwork for reforms or strategic plans to be implemented. Through the speech, the president has the opportunity to present their political goals to the public and explain how these goals will be achieved. For example, in his 1933 speech, Franklin D. Roosevelt clearly presented his New Deal concept, which involved government intervention and a series of policy measures to address the Great Depression. Roosevelt's speech brought hope, promising unemployment relief, financial reforms, and public works projects, marking the U.S. government's new response to economic issues. Similarly, Obama's inaugural address included key issues like economic recovery, healthcare reform, and the development of green energy, conveying his determination and specific actions for the country's revival. Furthermore, policy declarations in presidential speeches often reflect both the urgency of addressing current social issues and a long-term vision. In the president's words, major national challenges are clearly stated and addressed through specific policy measures. For example, in John F. Kennedy's 1961 inaugural address, he proposed the vision of "We will pledge that we will send a man to the moon in this decade," showcasing America's leadership in space exploration and symbolizing the nation's spirit of excellence and continuous innovation. Presidential speeches also often cover how to balance domestic and foreign affairs. In the context of globalization, U.S. domestic and foreign policies are increasingly intertwined, and the speech usually needs to address the balance of national economic, social issues, and international relations. Many presidents' inaugural addresses explicitly state the nation's stance and strategy on the global stage when dealing with domestic and foreign issues. For instance, Kennedy's speech included the words, "We shall bear the burden of responsibility and strive for global peace," calling on Americans to support both domestic economic development and global leadership during the Cold War. 2. Emotional appeal and inspirational language. In addition to policy declarations, presidential inaugural addresses often have a strong emotional appeal. Through inspiring words, the president is able to motivate the public to face national challenges together, demonstrate leadership, and enhance social cohesion. The language of emotional appeal in these speeches often centers around unity, hope, resilience, and trust, aiming to ignite the public's resonance, making everyone feel their responsibility and contribution to the nation's future. For example, in Obama's 2009 inaugural address, he said, "We are a united country, and we will face challenges with the power of history." Through such language, he not only expressed America's ambition in the era of globalization but also called on citizens to unite and work together for the country's revival. Obama's speech successfully inspired the public's confidence and motivated Americans to march toward a brighter future. Emotional appeal in inaugural speeches is not limited to inspiring language. It also includes attention and commitment to specific groups. For instance, Roosevelt's speech during the Great Depression emphasized the government's care for ordinary workers, the poor, and the unemployed. This language strategy made the public feel the government's sense of responsibility and care, enhancing their trust in the president and support for national policies. In addition, emotional appeal in inaugural addresses often includes a review and celebration of American history and values. By recalling the nation's founding history, significant events, and core American values, the president can inspire national pride and strengthen the public's identification with the American spirit. This emotional connection also helps the president form strong unity during the inaugural speech, allowing every listener to feel closely connected to the nation's destiny. The presidential inaugural address is not only the president's starting point for fulfilling their duties, but it also showcases their language artistry, leadership, and political goals. Through the speech, the president not only clarifies their policy directions, but also conveys hope and confidence to the people. The language skills, policy declarations, and emotional appeal in the speech combine to make the inaugural address a key moment for the president to demonstrate leadership to the nation and the world. The words in these speeches often become a historical testament, inspiring the public to face challenges together and march toward future victory. Through the power of language, the inaugural address not only shapes the president's image but also influences the nation's political direction and social development. The presidential inaugural address is not just a political declaration but also a collective speech to the entire nation. Each new president's address carries the hopes of the people for the future and responds to the current state of affairs. The address often becomes a crucial political moment, encompassing numerous political, economic, and social issues. For the public, their expectations and reactions are key factors in assessing the success of the speech. The content, language style, and emotional expression of the speech directly affect the public's impression of the new president and, to some extent, determine the foundation of the president's future governance and the level of national support. 3. Public expectations of the presidential inaugural address. Whenever a new president takes office, the public's expectations for the inaugural address are typically very high. The intense competition and controversy during the election process often leave the public with complex emotions toward the new president. They hope the president's speech will provide clear direction for future leadership and help alleviate the social tensions that have built up during the campaign. Therefore, the inaugural address becomes a symbolic moment, an opportunity for the president to fulfill campaign promises and address public concerns. Public expectations usually manifest in the following ways. 1. Clarity of policy direction. The public expects the president to clearly outline future policy directions in the inaugural address, especially in areas like the economy, foreign relations, social security, and healthcare. This speech should not only respond to the current political environment, but also offer concrete solutions to social issues. For instance, during times of economic crisis, the public expects to see detailed plans for economic recovery, and in the context of complex international relations, they want to know how the president plans to address global challenges. The inaugural address becomes the primary way for the public to understand how the new president will balance various interests and address national issues. 1. The transmission of inspiration and hope. In addition to policy content, the public also hopes that the president's speech will inspire confidence and bring hope to the society. Throughout American history, many presidential inaugural speeches have emphasized the American dream and the power of unity. For example, in Barack Obama's 2009 address, he emphasized change and promised to lead the country out of the financial crisis and toward a more prosperous future. Such motivating and emotionally charged language often helps shape the relationship between the new president and the public, making the public feel that the president is not only a leader, but also a partner of the people. 1. Leadership style and call for unity. The inaugural address also serves as an opportunity to showcase leadership style and abilities. The public expects to see the president's decisiveness and ability to handle complex issues. For example, in times of national division or social crisis, the public expects the president to convey a message of unity in the speech and propose policies that can rally national consensus. Through the address, the president can send a signal that the nation needs to come together to face challenges, and this type of call to action can often spark collective action in times of crisis. 3. Two media and social platforms interpretation and analysis. The presidential inaugural address is not only a focal point for public attention, but also a hot topic for the media and social platforms. The media helps the public gain a deeper understanding of the speech's content and meaning through reporting and analysis, and social media platforms provide the president with a direct channel to engage with the public. The interpretation and analysis on media and social platforms have a significant impact on the success or failure of the address. 2. Traditional media reporting and analysis. Traditional media, such as television, radio, and newspapers, still plays an important role in the public's response to the inaugural address. After the speech, TV stations and news agencies often provide expert interpretations, political commentary, and audience feedback to comprehensively analyze the speech's content. This analysis helps the public understand the deeper significance and potential political impact of the speech. News anchors and commentators often point out key policies mentioned by the president, assess their feasibility, and discuss the potential societal effects. Through this analysis, the media not only conveys the basic information of the speech, but also provides an authoritative interpretation that influences public perception and reaction. 2. Social media's instant reactions. With the rise of social media platforms, public feedback is no longer limited to traditional telephone or street interviews, but is now shared instantaneously through platforms such as Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram. Social media provides every ordinary citizen with an opportunity to express opinions, allowing the reactions to the presidential address to spread quickly and widely. For example, Obama's speech became a hot topic on Twitter, with thousands of tweets expressing reactions to the content of the speech. Social media interactions turn the presidential address into a two-way communication process, rather than just a one-way political statement. 2. Expressions and comments on social media. Social media not only provides a space for verbal expression, but also introduces more emotional exchanges through emojis, GIFs, and short videos, enabling users to quickly and easily express their emotional reactions to the speech. This mode of interaction makes the presidential address more personalized and accessible, as ordinary citizens can express their feelings and reactions to the speech in a relaxed manner. For instance, Donald Trump's 2017 address not only sparked widespread discussions in the media, but also saw short videos and memes on social platforms, making the reaction to the speech more vivid and engaging. 3. Impact of the speech on presidential support. The inaugural address is not just a political statement. Its content and delivery have a significant impact on the president's support. The effectiveness of the speech often influences public expectations for the president's future actions and can change the public's perception and support for the president in the short term. 3. Public opinion after the speech. The public's response to the inaugural address is often reflected in public opinion polls. After the speech, news organizations typically conduct polls to assess the public's view of the speech. These survey results can reflect the level of public support for the president's policies and their leadership image. For example, George W. Bush's inaugural address in 2001 received high public approval, but his support fluctuated over time due to economic crises. In contrast, Barack Obama's 2009 address resulted in very high public approval, especially in regard to his economic recovery promises and social reforms. 3. The expected impact on policy implementation. The content of the presidential inaugural address directly influences public expectations for the future implementation of policies. Key policies mentioned in the speech often become the focal point in the early stages of the president's governance. The public's recognition and expectations of these policies partly determine whether the president can effectively advance their agenda. For example, Roosevelt's New Deal laid the foundation for his government's large-scale economic reforms, while Obama's healthcare reform was supported by public opinion following his address, which helped facilitate the subsequent legislative and policy processes. 3. Long-term impact on presidential support. While the immediate reaction to the presidential inaugural address affects support, the long-term effects depend on the execution and implementation of the president's policies. When the president sets forth ambitious goals in the inaugural address, the public closely watches whether these goals will be realized through actual policy actions. If the president fails to fulfill the promises made in the address, their support may decline significantly. Conversely, if the promises made in the speech are transformed into concrete reform measures, public support for the president will steadily increase. Conclusion: the presidential inaugural address is not only an announcement of the president's duties, but also a symbolic moment in history. The public's expectations, media and social platform interpretations, and the impact on the president's support together form the complex political context of the inaugural address. The leadership, emotional appeal, and policy commitments showcased in this speech determine whether the address succeeds and, further, influence the political support the president will receive in their future governance. Whether addressing domestic policies or international relations, the address lays the groundwork for the president's future political path, and the public's response plays a key role in determining whether the president can garner broad support for their policies.
The English Pod Audio Review. Listen to the meaning, then say the vocabulary word. Give information by speaking. Say something officially.
Deliver.
Place someone in a new position by holding an official ceremony where he promises to do the job well.
Swear in.
Official. Serious promise.
Oath.
Important and famous people in a particular industry.
Who's who.
Person with a high rank or position, especially in government or religion.
Dignitary.
So strong you can feel it. Obvious.
Palpable.
To describe it in one word.
In a word.
Used to describe people of the same group.
Fellow.
Be remembered.
Go down in history.
Let's try that faster. Be remembered.
Go down in history.
Person with a high rank or position, especially in government or religion.
Dignitary.
Be remembered.
Go down in history.
Person with a high rank or position, especially in government or religion.
Dignitary.
Official. Serious promise.
Oath.
To describe it in one word.
In a word.
Important and famous people in a particular industry.
Who's who.
Used to describe people of the same group.
Fellow.
Person with a high rank or position, especially in government or religion.
Dignitary.
Place someone in a new position by holding an official ceremony where he promises to do the job well.
Swear in.
Give information by speaking. Say something officially.
Deliver.
To describe it in one word.
In a word.
Place someone in a new position by holding an official ceremony where he promises to do the job well.
Swear in.
Important and famous people in a particular industry.
Who's who.
To describe it in one word.
In a word.
Be remembered.
Go down in history.
Now say the word and hear it in a sentence.
Deliver. Who is going to deliver the welcome speech? Swear in. The president-elect will be sworn in on the 20th of January. Oath. The president swore an oath to lead the country fairly and justly. Who's who. The convention was like a who's who of the auto industry. Palpable. I had a palpable sense of relief when I heard your plane landed safely. Dignitary. Several important dignitaries were present at the opening ceremony, including the President of Brazil, the King of Spain, and the Pope. Go down in history. This is going to go down in history as the worst disaster the world has ever seen. Deliver. Who is going to deliver the welcome speech? Who's who? The convention was like a who's who of the auto industry. Dignitary. Several important dignitaries were present at the opening ceremony, including the President of Brazil, the King of Spain, and the Pope. Go down in history. This is going to go down in history as the worst disaster the world has ever seen.
Thank you for tuning in. We hope you found this episode both insightful and enjoyable. Don't forget to subscribe so you never miss any great episodes. See you next time.